Hey guys, are you here because you want to know about my personal statement? Well, great, let's just get straight into it. So it's 8 paragraphs long and I'm just going to break down each paragraph. So the first one starts off with a story when I worked as a PCA at a hospital. It starts off with some dialogue and interaction between me and one of the nurses I was working with that day, and we were talking about a specific patient and a part of his care plan for that specific day. It was very short, very nice introduction. Then the second paragraph was a little bit longer and I talk about the patient's history, my first reactions, my first thoughts, and then also how I realized that while I can't be a part of his treatment at the level of a physician, I can still do what's in my control to best take care of the patient and their family. And then I also wrapped up by talking about an interaction that I had with the patient's mother. So this is a story that was very near and dear to me, and I can talk a lot about it, and I actually ended up talking about it in a decent number of my interviews. The third paragraph then talks about some important lessons that I learned from that experience from that specific day, because it was a very challenging day. Also, that I realized that my main driving force and my passion for medicine is really about compassionate care. And so that was one of the themes that I stuck with throughout my primary. And then I wrap up by talking about how I want to take care of as many patients as possible and provide equitable care along with the compassionate care. Now, the fourth paragraph starts off talking about a different story. So when I went to India for the first time with my family and some of the experiences that I had there, I kind of compared the differences in healthcare between there and here to set this tone that I like learning and being in new environments. And so that shows a different perspective of how I can think and now how I view the world. And then the fifth paragraph then talks about how, we don't have to necessarily travel all the way around the world to provide really good care that people desperately need. Within our own local communities and neighborhoods, there are people who need care just as much. That I also tied into my volunteering that I do in the communities downtown here in Columbus, etc. Now, the sixth paragraph, I kind of transitioned to how I was taught as a child to do seva, which basically means selfless service. I believe that there's no greater deed than doing something for others out of the kindness of your heart and with good intentions, with no expectation of anything in return. So this also ties back to volunteering and the work that I did really as a PCA, because I tried to go above and beyond for my patients. I talk about how as a physician, because a lot of times what you want to do is you want to show medical schools what type of medical student and physician you will be. And so I talk about how these are things that I want to incorporate into my work as a physician. And so when I also talk later in my secondary essays about how I want to participate in free clinics at the medical school specifically, it makes a lot of sense. Going into the seventh paragraph, this one is also a little bit longer. I continue the theme of compassionate care to transition into the paragraph, and then I start talking about how there are other ways that you can provide compassionate care and be an advocate for patients other than just being in a clinical setting. I talk here about 2 of my different research experiences. One of them is in a basic science lab, and one of them was a clinical research paper that I did with an orthopedic surgeon. Now, you don't want to just spit your resume out on your personal statement, but a lot of times I think if you can make it a coherent story and show how these things contribute to what you've learned and your motivations to become a physician, I think it can only help you in the long run, because a lot of times I would have interviewers that would skim through my personal statement. They would choose one of the things that I talked about that seemed really interesting, and they would ask a question about that, and it provided a great topic for conversation. So I talk about my research a little bit, and then I summarize by talking about how both research projects that I worked on can potentially improve patients' lives in the future. So the 8th paragraph and the last part of my personal statement talks about how my desire to become a physician really developed from recognizing my desire to help those who are really in need of medical care, and how that motivator led me to pursue so many experiences. This includes experiences that I wanted to do, experiences that I wasn't sure I wanted to do. It pushed me out of my comfort zone. It's really allowed me to understand the roles of compassion and trust, and it helped me develop meaningful relationships with other people. I also then tied together from the first story at the beginning of the essay, the patient and their mother, how even the most minor things can tremendously impact the lives of others, which inspires me to strive for more going into the future. Whether it's assisting a mother with their child's care, or improving the healthcare in my local communities with the volunteering that I was talking about earlier downtown, or contributing to research that enhances medical treatment and outcomes. So I really find purpose in seva, in doing things selflessly, and working diligently to improve myself, my character, my abilities, for the betterment of others. Now, if you have a very important story, something related to your life or something that you went through that you want to talk about that has significantly contributed to why you want to be a physician, I totally encourage you to do that. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one, to draft up your personal statement and revise it, I'm happy to do that. There's a link in the description, the very first link, completely free, and we will talk. I'm happy to do that with you guys. So yeah, everybody's personal statement is a little bit different. This is how I approached mine. It ended up being very successful for me. Also, go check out other videos on the channel. They will be on the screen. I'm here to help you with MCAT prep, personal statement, how to fill out your primary application, also timeline information. I was just doing a one-on-one meeting with a student yesterday, and I was just randomly saying some things that came to mind, and they had absolutely no idea that was the case. So like, these are very important things that you need to know to even be eligible to apply to medical school. So yeah, my goal is just to share as much information with you guys as possible. So subscribe and like if you guys want more of that content, and I'm happy to do it.